We're live.
Well, hi there. Welcome to the Obi-Thorn Alliance. We haven't done one of these for a while, so thought we would be back and doing a live stream. And we're finally in the 5th month, and we are doing what we have been watching with topics. So, what have you been watching, Luke?
Well, as you people would know that watch the videos, I'm trying to watch 100 movies this year, which I think
I'm going with that.
Yeah, I think it's 39 now, and I'm pretty confident I'll get there pretty easily now. There's lots of movies coming out now, and I'm going to have a bit of spare time to catch up on a few that I've got saved in my library, so I think I'll get there. So mainly movies. So what's something cool I've watched recently? I watched The Fall Guy, which you're hoping to see on the weekend.
Yes.
This was one of my most anticipated movies of the year, and it did not fail to disappoint. So I'm looking forward to when we get to do a review. I'm a big Ryan Gosling fan. I think when he does comedy, he's hilarious. This movie lived up to everything I expected. I haven't seen other reviews, so I don't know what people are saying about it. But at the moment, it's in my top 2 favorite movies of the year. So I'm kind of tussling. I'm not sure if I want to keep it at 1 or 2. So I liked it and lived up to the hype. So big fan of The Fall Guy. What have you been watching?
The Knuckles show on Paramount Plus. What is I guess, origins or kind of lead into a story for the Sonic Free show, and I'm enjoying it. I've seen 2 episodes of it so far, but it feels like it's actually not going to be about Knuckles. It's going to be about a human named Wade with his bowling tournament and trying to prove himself. What personally, I hate it with shows when the main title character is named like Knuckles, but it's actually not about that character. So I personally don't like that. Are you considering watching Knuckles, or you're not really into the
I
Sonic?
saw it come up, and I thought it was a movie. I didn't realize it was a show. And then I was like, is that Sonic? But I don't know anything about Sonic the Hedgehog. I've never played the game, and I have not seen any of the movies. So highly unlikely I'm going to watch it. No.
Okay.
So how much have you watched so far?
2 episodes out of 6.
Okay. You think you'll continue?
Yes, just to see how it goes, but I got a mixed bag about it, yeah.
Okay. What else have I been watching? Something that I watched recently that disappointed me was a movie called Sweet Dreams. So this is right at the bottom of my list so far. Sweet Dreams. I saw who was in it. So Johnny Knoxville stars in it. I wouldn't say starred, but he was the main character. It had Theo Von in it, a comedian I really like, and it had Bobby Lee, another comedian I really like. And I thought this movie is going to be funny. It's about, drunks and drug addicts in a rehab center playing softball and trying to win a tournament. I thought there's going to be some real funny laughs in this. None. Didn't laugh once at this movie. It was trying to pull at your heartstrings and talk about addiction, but it didn't do a very good job of that. I didn't feel anything for the characters. In the end, it really achieved nothing. It was neither heartfelt, eye-opening, nor funny. It was just kind of nothing. And the story just didn't really make sense, that they offered this local softball teams could win $80,000 if they could win. And they played, all the teams were really bad. I know it's a local teams, but I think of sports in my area. Even non-professional locals are better at sport than these people were. And the fact that they won $80,000 for it baffles me. So couldn't really buy it. So that was one of the worst things I've seen this year. And
worse than Madam Web?
It was actually worse than Madam Web. It sits lower on. At least Madam Web has something I'm interested in. They just got it wrong.
Okay.
So, yeah. What's something else you've been watching?
I just recently finished off The Bad Batch season 3, so they have finally finished off, I guess, the era of the Clone Wars animation. They will obviously do something else, and it's very much ending that feels very too perfect. None of the main character dies, but the villain ends up dying. Very much that kiddish sort of, what happens there. So I enjoyed the show overall. Season 3 is a pretty good season overall. Definitely feel like they should have done a season 4, but very much happy with the conclusion and whatever they do next. bring it on, I guess. Yeah.
Yes. Obviously, I know you're a fan of Star Wars and you like the animated series, so I don't think I'll be watching The Bad Batch anytime soon. But I like the idea of it. I'm just so far out of that world when it comes to the animated series of Star Wars. Except for Young Jedi, I've seen a bit of that. I don't want to rattle on everything I've seen. Another bad movie was Arthur the King. Movies that had the main character is Mark Wahlberg, who was one of my favorite actors of all time. So I thought this is going to be pretty good, but it was really strange. It was like kind of a documentary, but wasn't really. It's based on a true story, but it felt like you were following them in a documentary sense, opposed to it being an action-packed movie. Basically, it's about a team of adventure runners or something. I don't know. They're competitions where they've got to do running, hiking, climbing. They've got to cross like a whole country, and like the team that gets there first wins. And somehow this dog, and it was a real story, the dog inspired them to come together as a team and
Men's best friend.
And they've got to save this dog. And like it's very much, it leads up to this is going to be a sad story about the dog and how the dog inspires them. The dog is in the movie like right towards the end and does nothing. Like it didn't, and then it wanted you to feel sad when the dog was unwell, and it just didn't do it. Like it didn't achieve what it wanted to, much like this Sweet Dreams film.
What sort of dog was it?
Oh, it's kind of a mixed breed, but I'd say it was close to like a bigger Jack Russell kind of thing.
Okay.
I don't know. It looked like a mutt, really, but I wasn't sad about the dog and what was happening with it, and I didn't feel like the dog helped them. The only thing I think the dog provided was they were going to walk off a cliff in the dark, and the dog barked at them, and it caught their attention, and they didn't walk off the cliff. Other than that, but it made out like I was thinking it was going to be like a Marley and Me movie where everyone's sad about the dog, but it didn't do that. So that was a pretty average movie. What else are you watching?
Just recently watched a limited series on Stan called Red Eye, and it is a very conspiracious sort of show involving a doctor from Britain that arrives at the airport, and then he is sent back because he is accused of a murder that he is saying that he did not commit, and the show has its twists and turns, and hopefully it does not get a season 2 because it is a perfect limited series, and I think that's the focus of what the show is going for, and hopefully it stays that way because it ends in a perfect way.
I'll rattle off a couple of movies I've seen, but I won't go in depth with it. Ones that I saw this month that I liked was Leroy, Texas. That's a cool movie. So that's kind of like a murder mystery comedy. That was a bit of fun. I watched Monkey Man yesterday. I was actually pretty impressed with that. I think Dev Patel is quite a good actor, and I pretty much like everything he's been in. So that was a cool kind of John Wick-esque action film, but set in India, which was a bit different. So I quite like that. Other movies. I saw... I'll tell you. So yeah, I enjoyed the Leroy, Texas. I thought that was all right.
Have you watched Civil War yet?
I haven't. I'm going to watch that. I actually, after hearing Jacob talk about it and seeing a bit more about it, I actually really do want to see it. And I know you had your issues with it because it's supposedly, it leads you to think it's really about the war, but it's about people within the war and the reporters. I'm liking that, and now that I know that going to the film, I'll probably have a different perspective than you do. So I actually do want to see it. Something I saw that I was really impressed with was called Totally Killer. So this was an Amazon original. It's a time travel horror film. Someone gets someone murders a whole bunch of kids. Then in the future, that person, the one that survives has a family. They then get killed on the anniversary of their friends dying. I think it's like 30 years later. And then the daughter then gets into conflict with this person and then damages a time machine that their friend was making. I know it sounds silly. She goes back in time, and then she goes back in time to the date of when the original people started getting killed. So then she decides that she's going to stop that from happening in order to save her mum, so her mum doesn't get killed in the future. And it's a movie that does time travel really well because it shows the timeline of what's happening in the past when she's gone back and how it affects the future, the butterfly effect, which most movies don't address that. Someone goes back in time and then they return to their current time and it's like nothing happened. But she goes back in time and the people in her timeline are like, where did she go? Like she literally disappeared. They're looking for her. And they're like, I think she went in the time machine. And then they keep seeing things change and they keep seeing like old pictures and they're like, she's in this picture, like what the hell? Like so it's kind of clever, and I think that does time travel really fun, and it does it really well. So I thought that was a cool movie. So Totally Killer. I saw Roadhouse. I thought Roadhouse was a pretty awesome movie. Bad acting in it, but I liked it. I thought it was an action film. It was something different. I know it's kind of a remake in a way, but I'm sick of seeing the same stuff. So I liked that it was something different. So I'll give it that. Oh, one more movie that I saw. I saw so many. I was recently. Now we'll go with Leroy, Texas, and Totally Killer. What else have you been watching?
I'm gonna since I brought up the limited series thing, that's going to be the topic that I'll be talking about with limited series. So the problem I find with limited series, when it's meant to be limited series, the problem is, like, I'll use the example with Truth Be Told and with Hijacking. Truth Be Told is the thing that I think should have been one season. It was perfect as a limited series, and then they wanted to make more seasons. Is that they lose a charm, and even the after party as well. They lose the charm of how the story goes, because if you do things too often, it loses the effect of what the first season did, and that's, I think, the problem. If you market something as a limited series, and then you renew it, it's kind of like, well, it shouldn't be a season 2. So that's kind of why I said with Red Eye, it should be just a limited series.
No, I agree with that. I think what happens is a lot of the times they write something kind of close-ended. So they write it as a limited series with one season, and they try and give you a satisfying ending. And then they go, oh, this show was popular. Let's make another season. And then, well, you've already closed it off. Now you're just creating another season. And maybe it was popular because you closed it off. That's what made it worth it. I think a show needs to already have in mind that there's going to be 2 seasons and kind of plan that through the first season. Because a show, you brought up a good example of a show like The After Party. It was a unique concept. It was very cool, but it's not repeatable. So don't try and repeat it. You know, you've got these set of characters that were involved in this murder mystery. You solve the murder. What? We're going to bring back those characters again, and we're going to have them involved in another murder. That just doesn't happen. I know Only Murders in the Building we both quite like, but if you really think about it, the chances of these murders keep happening in the building and then being involved in is kind of stupid. That's not going to happen. But Only Murders in the Building find a way to keep it fresh. But yeah, you're right. It's like, can't limited series just be one season? Why do they need to have so many? So why do TV shows have to be aimed at making multiple seasons? Just bring out one product. Write as a one season if that's what it's meant to be, and stick to it. Don't go, well, this is popular, let's make another one. What are some other shows that come to mind for you that have done this? They've ruined it by going, let's go that one extra season, or let's turn what was a perfect limited series into multi-series, and it's just ruined it for you. One of Us is Lying comes to mind to me.
Yeah.
I thought the first season of that was pretty good.
Yes.
And then why do you have to add a second one? You mentioned Truth Be Told.
Yes.
Like, Truth Be Told, season 1 was phenomenal. And then,
I watched that twice.
Then everything about that show got terrible from that. Like, just don't watch it. Just watch the first season. Like, that's all it needs to be. What are some shows that you've seen where it has worked, where they actually have brought out multiple seasons?
The Sinner.
I was thinking that too. I haven't seen it, but the fact that was an anthology series, I think, helps it. I think that can work. You know, it's the same. And I guess you could say that is the After Party an anthology series where, they move on to the next murder. But it's like, really, it's not. It's too quirky. It's a bit silly. Where The Sinner is a serious show. So, yeah, you got any more you want to add to this idea of like sequels not needing to be made, or making multiple seasons to a show? Just if the intention was a limited series, just leave it at that.
I think also it loses the effect of the original show as well. If you make another season, it loses the charm of the first season.
I can think of a show that I recently watched. I just finished it, Sex Ed season 4. So I've been trying to watch this for a while, and it shouldn't have taken that long, but it was just a hard watch. This show, the first season, I really, really liked, and I don't think it could have ended at 1 because I can't remember how the first season but it ended, but it got you excited for the next. But that's a show that they just dragged it on. Like, I think after season 1, Sex Ed was probably one of my favorite shows I'd seen in a very long time. Now I think it's probably one of the worst shows I've ever seen. Like, I just would not go back to it. And I know that's an unpopular opinion. Anyone that's seen it, this is the most woke attempt or inclusivity focused show I've ever seen. Like, to the point of it being reversed, like being tokenism. Like, they've gone, well, we want to make a show that opens up people's eyes to, disabilities, different genders, like so many different things, everything. But when you put it all together, it loses its effect. You think like a show needs to stick to it. If you're saying, we want to open people's eyes to transgender, for instance, which is a focal point in this show, well, just do that. Don't then go, we're going to add in this person gets mistreated because their race. This person gets discriminated because of their disability. This happens to this person. Well, now the first people you were trying to help out just get like put to the side. It's too much. Like, I didn't finish watching that show going, wow, I think differently about these minorities now because of what the show's done. It actually has the reverse effect. You're like, this was so scripted and bullshit. I almost like care less about these people, which I obviously don't. But that's the effect it would have on some people. I think it'd be an interesting show, or this last season for you to watch, looking at how they tackle disabilities. Okay. So they've got one character in there who's in a wheelchair. So I don't know if they mention his exact disability, but he's like arms are a bit deformed. Like, he hasn't had like a car accident. He was obviously born this way. And they throughout the seasons, he dates the main girl character that like everyone thinks is attractive. So I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to say just because someone's in a wheelchair doesn't mean they can't get the girl. That's cool. I like that. So they go with that. And then the next season, it kind of happens again. Like, they break up and another girl comes interested in, and you're like, okay, again, I'm not saying that people in wheelchairs, this wouldn't happen to them. But then it moves on to, well, now he's being discriminated because he goes to a school that ticks every box in terms of exclusivity, except for the fact that they have one elevator and it doesn't work. And he can't get to class. So he can't get to class because this elevator, and no one wants to listen to him. And it's not that they're not listening to him. It's like the elevator takes time to fix and it's expensive. Like, they're trying to do what they can. So to get his point across, he then blocks the stairwell and sets off the fire alarm so that everyone experiences what it's like to be stuck in an emergency and not be able to get where they need to get. Okay. Which is kind of clever, but they go one step further. By him doing that, there was a girl in class that was deaf and she didn't hear the alarm go off. So everyone left her behind. So now it's, well, what about me? You guys did that and you forgot about me. Like, I couldn't hear it. What about, and then it's like, well, now I don't feel bad for the guy in the wheelchair. I feel bad for the deaf person. And, like, you've kind of trying to do too much that you lose the effect. Like, instead of sell this solid point that this person's being discriminated again, let's double down and go, well, you're now discriminating this person. And it's like, it's too much. You're like, the show got too woke. Could go on about for ages. What's the other topic you want to talk about?
The whole Chris Hemsworth not liking his performances.
Oh, yes. So you're talking about the news story where Chris Hemsworth came out and said that he felt that he came a parody of himself in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Yes.
Which was a criticism we had about the show, about the movie. So what's your thoughts on it? What do you think about that movie, and how would you describe his performance?
Well, at first, when it came out 2 years ago, I'll be honest, I actually really enjoyed the movie. I actually thought it was better than what a lot of people thought. But 2 years later, I actually don't think is as good as I first thought it was. It definitely isn't as good as Thor Ragnarok. And I think he was not in the best mind space for that performance. And I can see why people aren't as happy with the movie as they were when it first came out. So I see the criticism, and he says, oh, he wants to do a fifth Thor because he didn't do a good job with Thor 4. Well, I kind of see that as, I want to make more money. So
yeah, it's a bit of both, isn't it? There, let me redeem myself and get paid a whole lot and make another movie, but also fans would probably like to see that too. So it's kind of like, you can see through what he's getting at. But I agree. I didn't dislike Thor: Love and Thunder. My initial thought was this movie is trying to be too funny, and that I think that was its problem. Like, you look at the evolution of Thor in the first installment of the Thor films, he was, his British accent, very serious, and like I think people didn't receive that well. So then they go to the next. What was it? Is the Avengers? Is that the next time we see Thor before we see a second Thor film?
Yeah.
He got a little bit, cheeky with the Avengers, and then it progressed, and then we get to Ragnarok, and he's funny. We realize Thor's funny. We like this, and we get Korg. Korg comes to that, so they kind of feed off their humor with that. But then, as you said, it becomes a parody of himself, where it's like it was all jokes. You're trying to be constant jokes, and it's like at the end of the day, Thor is a god. He probably needs to be a little bit serious, So like you can have the odd joke here, you can have dad bod Thor, like that's funny, but then I think it went too far, and you need to tone it back, which is sad because I like Taika Waititi as a director, but I think he kind of butchered Love and Thunder, made it a bit too funny. So where would you like to see the direction of Thor go?
I'd like to see it a lot more serious and kind of a mix between Thor, Ragnarok, and kind of Avengers and Infinity War, but we'll see where it goes. I'd like to see Hercules get involved in the next Thor, because the end credit scene, and kind of make it Thor versus Hercules.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would be cool, and I think they just the evolution of Thor's quite interesting. At the end of the day, he is a god. He probably needs to have a little bit of seriousness about it, but he kind of has a reason to kind of be a bit dark and broody and not so funny. His mother died, his dad's dead, his brother's good and bad, like swaps between. You never know what he's up to. He's a god that was in love with a human who died. There's a lot of things to it that he probably shouldn't be happy about. Also funny, I think they could have kind of a more serious, darker Thor movie, because at the end of the day, he's the only Avenger that is a god. So he's got a bit of a different role and responsibility than others, and maybe tone that back a bit. And where could they expand that with the whole Loki thing? Because as far as he's aware, his brother's dead. But from what we've seen, his brother's now like the most important person in the universe, apparently. So we need to see where that could go.
Indeed.
What other pop culture news have you read about recently?
That Deadpool and Wolverine is going to be the most important movie, including to Kevin Feige.
Yeah, he was saying in that article that he thinks in terms of the multiverse saga, this is going to have a big impact, and it's not revealed what that is, but from what we can gather, it seems like it might be this bringing together of the Sonyverse, the MCU, and I don't know, would you consider the X-Men the Sonyverse? I don't know, it's in the Sony franchise, but even in the Sonyverse, they've got multiple versions of the X-Men. It's like its own thing. Like, is this the way of merging it? Because we saw in Spider-Man No Way Home, we merged together the different Spider-Mans. It kind of ticked that box, and people can now go, doesn't matter if there was a Tobey Maguire or as an Andrew Garfield or a Tom Holland. We accept they all come from their own multiverse. That's cool. So now is that the thing that this is going to do, cross them over? Because they reckon Wolverine and the X-Men are getting closer and closer to being part of the MCU, which I'm neutral on. Like I'm not like a fanboy of the X-Men, but there's a lot of people out there that absolutely love the X-Men that really want this to happen. If it does or doesn't, I'm happy either way. Like I'm not a fanboy of it, but that would be cool.
Yeah.
We also heard about that there might be
the Hulk.
People are thinking the Hulk's going to be in it. So what have you heard about that?
I've heard that Ed Norton is going to reprise his role so Deadpool can clean up the variant timeline, because Ed Norton's version of the Hulk isn't the proper Hulk, because as we saw in Deadpool 2, he was killing his bad variant, so he's going to kill different variants that don't align in the timeline.
Yeah, it's quite cool. It'd be a nice way to tie it up, because we have had a few versions of the Hulk. We've got the Eric Bana Hulk, we've got the Ed Norton Hulk, and we've got the current one, Mark Ruffalo. A lot of people think the Ed Norton one kind of got done dirty. You know, they made one film and didn't continue on. And his villain, the Abomination, is in She-Hulk.
Yeah.
So, like, how does that work? Like, so the villain of, you know, it's the same actor and the same villain, but different Hulks. So this might be able to tidy that up. Like, I guess they might just say the Abomination. It's the same Abomination in both timelines, but the Hulk's different. So I don't know. So that'd be interesting to see how they tidy that up. But I really like these cameos of swapping between multiverses and what it can do. I heard someone saying one of the things that alludes to this being the Hulk is there's been a lot of like teasers in the trailers that resemble that of famous comic book covers. So there's a scene that I didn't pick it up, but Wolverine is wearing a white tuxedo, and apparently there's a comic book cover where him and the Hulk are wearing a white tuxedo. Hey, let's hit the fireworks because I did that. I know that it sometimes brings up the click when you do the thumbs up. No, fireworks. That's cool. And we saw that. There's another comic book cover where every time the Wolverine has his claws out, you can see the Hulk in his reflection. And they reckon that if you look carefully at the trailer, you can see the shadow of the Hulk or something big behind them, and that's where it's coming from. And as we know from the past, whenever we hear these rumors, they tend to be somewhat true. Like with No Way Home, everyone's like, oh, is there going to be Spider-Man? Are we going to get the scene where they're all pointing? And of course we did. So, you know, we're probably going to get that, I would say. Anything else in pop culture news we read about? Zendaya's been in the news a lot.
About dressing up?
Yeah, apparently dressing the part and coming to the world premiere of Challenger in Sydney. I haven't seen Challenger. You said you hadn't even heard of it. You didn't know she was in it.
No.
I think it's going to be by default one of the biggest moves of the year just because people are obsessed with Zendaya. What's your thoughts on Zendaya?
This might be a hot take, but personally I think she's a very overrated actress and not that good, I'm sorry to say. I know a lot of people like her in Dune, but I don't personally.
I feel the same. I find it hard. I'm not an actor, so I'm not going to criticize her and say she can't act, but I don't see the hype. I see the same kind of role, resting bitch face in all her characters. You know, I really liked her in the first Spider-Man that she was in. I thought she was kind of funny and quirky. I thought that was cool. But then beyond that, I kind of found her irritating. I haven't seen Euphoria, but I heard other YouTubers say they reckon she's the best female actress going around at the moment. They reckon she has the widest range and can do the most things, and I just see the same role in all their things. So maybe Challenger will be different, but she to me just plays this broody, one-toned character in most of her movies. And that's what I saw in Dune. That's what I see in Spider-Man. So I don't know. I will go see Challenger because, one, I'm trying to see as many movies as I can. And I think that it's different. It's a different story, and from the reviews I've heard, it's fairly good. So I will go see it. Maybe I can tell you what it's like, and maybe you might go see it, or maybe wait till it comes to streaming. Some other topics. You got any other topics you can think of?
I got a topic. So we were talking about this earlier. I just personally think this year, when it comes to movies, has not been a good year for movies. I remember this time last year we have had John Wick 4, quite a lot of other movies, but this year I can't think of any movie that I've gone, that's instantly in my top 5 movies at the end of the year. That it just hasn't been a good. I know a lot of people say, "Oh, Dune2, that's just a masterpiece." That should be in your top 5, but for me, it's not.
Well, you haven't been blown away, and I would say the simple answer to that is the writer's strike that happened a few years ago. We're kind of in that lull of seeing the effects of not as many things being written or coming out, and moving forward, we're probably going to get quite a lot of things. But I do agree. I think I've seen a lot of movies this year, but none have blew me away. Obviously, I have rankings of where they sit, but if I was to do an overall ranking of greatest films I've ever seen, I don't think any film I've seen this year would make the top 20. So obviously the Dune hype, we haven't bought into it.
No.
But I've seen some good movies this year, but they've just been different. Nothing's really blown me away. And maybe Deadpool and Wolverine might be the first one of the year.
Yeah.
But there is ones coming out. I must say, I really like The Fall Guy, but it's not a cult classic. It'd be a film that I'd watch again and maybe multiple times over because it made me laugh. But yeah, doesn't seem to be that blockbuster this year that we've seen in other years. We've been doing top 5 movies of different years.
Yeah.
And when we look back at some of them, it's like, wow, look at that classic. That's a classic. That's a classic. I know over time things become more classic, but nothing's standing out this year just yet.
Do you think it will pick up this year or not really?
Well, I'm trying to think. What else have we got coming out? We've got Wolverine, Deadpool.
Rise of the Planet of the Apes. That
will be okay. I don't think it's going to be a masterpiece. Maybe Wicked Part 1. A lot of people really like Wicked the musical. It's one of the longest running musicals on Broadway. So maybe Wicked Part 1 could do it for us. Challenges, baby. I don't know. Maybe Zendaya might win an award for this thing. There's the Mufasa movie coming out, the live action Lion King, which they came out and said about that they were using the same technology they used when they made the live action Lion King, and it was going to look similar. I don't know if that's a good or bad thing. Is that you haven't improved at anything since 2018? That's a bit weird, but maybe that. You think of any other movies that are coming out this year?
Joker 2.
I think that would be up there. I really do. I think that movie is going to be groundbreaking and divisive. I think you're going to have, you love it or you hate it. I think Dune2 had that same kind of feel, but I think I'm going to be on the love it side of the Joker, and I'm on the hate it side of Dune. So I still have confidence that that's going to be the best movie of the year. Reflecting back on that, so what were your 5 most anticipated films of the year?
My most 5. Number 5 was the anime Lord of the Rings movie, the Rohan movie. Number 4 was the Planet of the Apes movie, and then number 3 was Bad Boys 4, and then number 2 was Joker 2, and the Deadpool vs Wolverine was number 1.
Okay, so none of your movies are out yet.
No,
they're not available. So what I have in my top 5, I had Iron Claw.
Yeah, still need to see that.
I like that. So that lived up to the hype to me. That and Fall Guy are like tossing between my 2 favorite movies of the year. And I think I'm going to have to reflect on that because Fall Guy I saw recently and really liked. And Iron Claws still hanging in there, and I saw it a while back. So I'm still thinking about that movie. I think a movie that gets you thinking is good. So that lived up to its expectation. Fall Guy lived up to its expectation. I haven't seen, obviously, Joker 2's not out. Remember what else I had on there? I know one of them I saw and was horrible. Like, it really disappointed me.
The remake to Mean Girls?
Yeah, that disappointed me. So that's like a mid-range 3 out of 5 star film. So that's 4 out of them. Oh, it would have been Deadpool and Wolverine, I'm guessing would have been the other one. So not out yet. What do you think? We saw the other week, we reacted to the Transformers 1 trailer. Having thought on it a couple of days, has your opinion changed? Are you looking forward to it more or less now?
I think the comedy will either be a hit or miss, but I think the charm and the best thing about it is that there's no humans.
Yeah. That actually, I didn't think about that because I know that you have that issue with a lot of films, where like the humans become the focal point of it, where they're not the main characters. So yeah, this avoids it. I'm looking forward to it because I'm not a fan of Transformers. Like I've seen a few of them, but I'm not I don't look forward to it. I'm impartial. But this looks cool because I'm excited about it because it's like different. It's a comedy. It's a cartoon. Like I'll give it a crack. So intrigued. One of the topics we were talking about off camera said we talk about is sequels because you brought up this idea of having multiple seasons, and I was like, I recently heard someone do a podcast about sequels. I guess we could talk about sequels in general, but what about this idea of what are some sequels that are must-sees or like are as good or better than the original, and which ones are bust, and like why do they bother making them? So can you think of some sequels that you're like, they were good, they were better than the first, they deserve to be there, I'm glad they made it?
The first one that comes to mind is Top Gun Maverick.
Yeah, I agree. No, putting a caveat on this, I guess we won't include things that you knew were going to come. Like, for instance, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Or we already knew there was going to be a sequel because the books existed. So it's got to be like an original movie that then later on they go, hey, let's write a second one to this. So, yeah, I agree. Top Gun Maverick, I only saw the original Top Gun just before that, and I was like, I don't understand the hype. It's okay. Maybe when it came out, people were blown away by it, but Top Gun Maverick 2 was phenomenal.
So they're making a third one now.
I know. I heard that. What is it? Do you know anything about the premise or what they're going to do with it? But yeah, I agree. I think Top Gun Maverick to me was better than the first one. Maybe people that grew up when the first one came out might disagree and go, "No, that's a cult classic. Can't top it." So that's a good one. What else was a worthy sequel?
Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah, and I guess that counts because George Lucas only kind of wrote that after the first one because the New Hope was like a one-off, wasn't it, originally? And the popularity caused him to write more?
Originally he wrote episodes 4, 5, and 6. He kind of did the opposite order, and then he wrote the story of the fall of Anakin, so he wrote it the opposite way. Yeah,
so I agree. I like Star Wars, but I actually don't have a favorite one. They're just kind of like it's all for me. Like when you hear people go, I hate this episode and they should have done that, it's like they're all good. I like them all. Like to me, it's just one big story. I don't really have a favorite. Another good sequels. This podcast talked a lot about comedies that came out that were like, well, I didn't need to make a second one. Bad Boys. I think Bad Boys has had merit continuing it.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed the most recent one was at Bad Boys 3 almost as much as any of the other Bad Boys. Yeah. I thought that worked. A lot of people like those Knives Out series. They thought that was worth making. And then you've got like the Murder on the Orient Express and the Murder on the whatever else. They keep making more of those. Probably easier to talk about bust things that didn't work. What are some sequels you can think of? It's like, why did they make a second one of this? Just leave it as is.
The Son of Mask.
Yeah, that was mentioned on the podcast too. That the Son of Mask was like, why? Like, I don't even think it had Jim Carrey, and I think it had Seth Green or something in it. So Jamie Kennedy, maybe. Like, why did they bother? Zoolander 2.
Yeah.
I really liked the first Zoolander. I must admit I didn't dislike the second one, but it probably just didn't need to be made. Just accept that this movie was good. Don't make any more. It's probably more recently they've done this with films. They've waited, 10 years or 20 years and gone
to reboot it.
Yeah, hey, let's do this. Like Dumber and Dumber, they did that. I haven't seen either, but I've heard that was not necessary to remake or like to redo or add a sequel to later on. Anchorman's one for me. Anchorman 1 is so funny and it's a cult classic, and the second one is so unmemorable. It's like you didn't need to do it, and it's kind of just going, well, let's just reboot let's bring the characters back and hope that that's enough. The storyline's irrelevant. People are just going to go, oh, Ron Burgundy's back. How funny is this? And it hurts a franchise. Like just leave it as is. I can't think of many more. There's probably lots and lots. There's lots of sequels that you don't know about. Disney are probably famous for this, making sequels where they would bring out the first one as a theatrical release, and then the second one they would bring out on TV or DVD or video, and then it'd go unknown. Like, The Lion King has several sequels that people may never have watched, or The Little Mermaid has a whole bunch of sequels, and things I didn't need to. A sequel I didn't like?
What's that?
Finding Dory. I really did not like Finding Dory. I had so many problems with that movie. It had like two endings. It had like a false ending, and then the rest of the movie after that felt like a really long end credit scene. And I think that's a weird thing to do for a kids movie, to have kids go, oh, they've saved the day, they've done it, and then but now there's another problem. It's like, you don't do that for kids. I thought that was a bit odd. Speaking of sequels, you were telling me the other day that I heard there was going to be a Toy Story 5, and you said there's going to be a 6 too.
Yes, 5 years later.
Yeah, which I'm cool with that. I think Toy Story is one of the smartest and best quality animated franchises out there. What are your thoughts on the Toy Story franchise?
I guess my question is, what are they going to do for the 5th one? Because didn't Woody leave the game?
Yes, so at the end of the 4th one, Woody decides to stay with Bo Peep, and they part of like this traveling circus or something. I can't remember exactly what they decide to do. And then Buzz continues on with the rest of the gang with Bonnie, and they, take off. Like they live happily ever after, as we see. So either it features Bonnie getting older, or she then donates the toys again to the next lot of person, which is fine. You can keep going. Like I think that's what's clever about the franchise. It's such a interesting imaginary world that when you're not looking, your toys are alive. Like it's so good for kids. Kids love it. Like my son is obsessed with Toy Story, and it's this. I wonder if he believes that his toys are like when he goes to bed, he's like, oh, is my Buzz and Woody toy out there playing? Are they doing things? And like the fact that the main characters are toys is so good for selling toys. Like it's genius. Like it's beyond genius. Like, you make a movie about Moana and then you make a toy about Moana. People go, oh, well, this is a toy of Moana. You make a toy of Buzz Lightyear, and you're like, well, this is Buzz Lightyear. This is what's in the movie. He is a toy. It's genius. It's so genius. So, I think Toy Story is a franchise that could probably drag on for a lot longer, and it's amazing how it holds up. Like the first movie came out in '92, when I was born, before you were born.
Yeah,
and my son still watches it. He watches it. It's like this movie came out in 1992. The pictures are horrible. Like they can't even do a round shape. They're like square. Like the technology was so bad back then, but it holds up. It's a cool story. Well, I think we talked about this before. I don't know about on camera. The idea of I think that they should make a spin-off show about Woody, Woody's Roundup Crew. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Buzz got a movie. It flopped. I didn't like it, but
I haven't seen it.
But geez, kids like it. They think it's great. And I guess at the end of the day, that's what matters. Kids are the ones that watch it. They think, but I don't know. It's just the movie. I thought the movie was a bit tricky for kids to understand. They talk about physics and time travel and all this stuff. It's a bit complex. But yeah, kids love it. But yeah, a Woody Roundup TV show. Like, you think about it, inside the movie, Woody is a toy based upon a show where him and Jesse and the Prospector and Bullseye, they're the sheriffs of the town. Just make that show. Like, even in the movie, they watch like a snippet of that show. It's like, let's just make it. Like, just show people what that show was. Like, you did that with Buzz. Like, the whole idea of Lightyear, the movie, is this movie came out and Andy loved that movie and they made toys about that movie. So let's just do the same with Woody. But instead of doing a movie, do a show, because we already know he was in a show. Like, I think it writes itself. So I'd like to see that one day. Okay, what else do you want to talk about?
I guess, why do you think we're in the minority of not liking Dune?
Well, if you ask the people,
we
just don't get it. We don't get it. I don't know. I just wasn't entertained. That's just as simple as that. I watched the movie and it did not entertain me. If I have to do research or think too hard about a movie, it loses interest, or it needs to pique my interest to do it. There's movies. I think of a movie like Oppenheimer. I watched that and I went and did research, but it's because I wanted to know more. I went and did research on Dune because I didn't understand it. That shouldn't be happening. You shouldn't be watching a movie and going, I don't get what's going on here. I don't think that's right. Well, why do you think it's in the minority? Why do you think we're in the minority?
I think because, I guess it's that big thing, like Avatar, for example. People love Avatar, and I personally don't like Avatar because I think, like, when you think about the whole concept of Avatar 2, is that he leaves his tribe just to go to the water people or the water tribe just so we can see the water. That's kind of like what Dune2 is. So
yeah, don't get me started on Avatar 2. That makes zero sense. You have, these people really want to hurt me and they're threatening my tribe and they're going to kill me and my tribe if I don't hand myself in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run away, and I'm just going to hope to God that they don't kill my tribe anyway. Of course they're going to. They're going to go threaten those people and go, where is he? Tell us where he went. Like, dumb. And then not only that, I'm going to then go to another tribe and now put them at risk. It makes no sense. It's so stupid. And the fact that they're going to keep making this and people are going to go, oh, it's pretty. It's pretty. I'll go watch it because it's pretty. Like, no, I don't buy it. I actually don't care about special effects. I actually like movies that are about a storyline and something interesting happening. I don't care less if it's got car chases or explosions or CGI. If it does and it helps the movie, fine. But I don't care. I don't even pick on a movie if it has bad CGI. I just, some people go, I want to watch the CGI. I could see this and I could see that. I don't care. That's just like the extra part of the movie. It needs to have a good storyline. Madam Web was horrible because the storyline made no sense. Like, it doesn't matter how much CGI you throw into the film. If the story makes no sense, it's dumb. So, yeah, we're part of the minority on both those two. Everyone seems to like Dune. Zendaya is universally the greatest actress of all time.
Yes.
And Timothy Chalamet is the greatest actor in our lifetime. And I don't dislike the bloke. I actually thought Wonka was funny.
Yeah,
I thought he was good in Wonka. So he brought out Wonka and Dune this year, and I will stand by the fact that Wonka was a better film. That was his better film out of the two.
I would agree with that.
And I don't think many other people will agree. They'll go, no, Dune's so good.
Are you enjoying the Fallout show?
Yes, I am. So what's your opinion on Fallout?
I think it's better than Dune.
Well, yeah, it's hard to compare the two because that one's a movie, one's a show. But what about in comparison to The Last of Us?
This might be a hot take because The Last of Us is finished and I've only watched one episode of Fallout, but I think Fallout is better than The Last of Us just because the problem I find with The Last of Us is that we already know where the story is going. What with Fallout, it's its own separate story. What I personally like, I know with The Last of Us, you can't as much because there's only two video games. What with Fallout, there's 5 or 6, so that you got more lenience with telling the story. But I've only watched one episode, but it went for 115 minutes. So I think I watched enough to make your opinion.
I think that's fair. I think obviously I like The Last of Us is my favorite game, so I have a strong opinion of comparing those two. Fallout, never played them, so I'm completely open to anything there. But you're right, Fallout has a lot more potential because Fallout's really about a world, like it's. I don't know if it extends to other countries, but it's America. For what I've seen, nukes, post-apocalyptic, what's happened. So there's infinite possibilities, long as they stay within the world of post-apocalyptic stuff. Last of Us has the same potential, but if they brought out a Last of Us game and it wasn't about Ellie and Joel, people would go, "What the hell?" So there's just another zombie show. We've got a million zombie shows. Stop making zombie shows. So I think that's like they had to, because Fallout, all the games are scattered and about different people. They've got the luxury of going, well, let's just invent a new character. No one's going to question this. If you started The Last of Us and it was about random characters, you got, well, this isn't The Last of Us. What are you doing? But it works for Fallout because that's how the games work. It just has to be post-apocalyptic and follow the same kind of premise. You got the vaults, you've got your ghouls, you've got the other type of tribes, and you got the brotherhood. Like long as they fit in, people go, that's Fallout, that works for me. Last of Us, they're kind of like boxed in, and then they did try and expand that by having side characters, but yeah, they're limited. So if I had to compare the two, I think The Last of Us was amazing and it did everything I wanted it to. But as you said, I knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
There's nothing new, nothing exciting. It was like, are they going to do this? Oh, they did. I mean, where like I'm watching Fallout, I'm like, I'm learning something new. I haven't played the game, so I'm like, what's going to happen? Like, what's the backstory? This is cool. So I'm enjoying Fallout more, but I guess I got 2 episodes left. I got to compare at the end of the day, which one do I like more? Probably going to lean towards The Last of Us because of the investment, and having that love for it. But if I hadn't played either of the games, I think Fallout's a more fun show.
And thankfully, they're both getting a season 2.
Yeah, I'd be intrigued with The Last of Us. I have to assume it follows the second game.
Yeah.
Like it has to. It'd be weird if it didn't. Where Fallouts can go anywhere. Like I haven't watched, as you know, I've been watching movies. That's my goal this year. I'm actually itching to find out what happens next in Fallout. I haven't had a show like that in a long time, and I've been looking at, like, waiting. I'm not waiting for the next episode because it's all already released. But I'm like, when am I going to get a chance to watch the next bit? I want to find out what happens next. I haven't had that excitement in a show in a while.
Do you think, unfortunately, because as we know, this is spoilers, Joel dies, do you think they'll do that at the beginning of season 2 or at the end of season 2?
I think they will do like a season, like game 1.5. I reckon this next season will be kind of between season 2 and season 1. That's what I hope and think they'll do. Because, like as you said, in the game, Joel dies like quick, and you see like some flashbacks. I think that's a waste of Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
So I think what they will do is they'll fill in the blanks because they skip a lot of years between the first and second game. So I reckon they might fill those years in. That's my idea. I think that's where it will go. Yeah, that's what I'm hoping they do. They can then drag it out a bit because they could have dragged out the first season. I getting towards the end of it, I was generally believing that they're not going to finish the first game in the first season. They're going to drag it over 2, and then they kind of like creamed it at the end. So I think they could drag it out a bit more. I don't mind that. They could delve into the backstory of where the virus started. That is not explained in the game. It's like you get little snippets, but there's no full backstory. They could do that. They could maybe mix timelines. The next season could be kind of what's happening and then like flashbacks. Like we got a bit of that in the first season. We saw that the researcher, they got her involved to see what was going on. Expand that story a bit. You can drag out the storyline with that. People want to know. People want to know where this virus came from. So you're not going to disappoint anyone.
And who's the best acting performance in Fallout? Has to be Walter Goggin or
Walter Goggin.
Yes.
Standout act. Well, he's obviously the most well known, and he's got a face you recognize and a voice like that pierces. So you know Walter Goggin when he's in something. So yeah, it's funny because sometimes people think something like the standout actor. That's just they go, oh well, this person was on screen the most, or this person kind of made me laugh or whatever. Where Walter Goggin did that, but that's Walter Goggin. So I actually think that the main female character, for someone that I don't know much of and hadn't seen anything else, this idea of playing this, she comes from this world where they get told that you're going to save civilization and everyone's nice to each other, and seeing her realize the hard truth of
everyone getting slaughtered.
Yeah, like the world's tough. Like it's scary out there. I think she does a really good job of that. I like her performance, and she's kind of got that naivety, like like in the first episode, she's like looking forward to getting married, even though she doesn't know who it is, and she's like, we're gonna have a baby, and you're like, she's just very naive. I think she does a really good job. Where Walter Goggin, I really like him in Righteous Gemstones. He plays a great character. What is it? It's Billy. It's like Brother Billy, Little Billy, something Billy. He's very good in that. So yeah, I like Walter Goggin. So what about yourself? You've only seen one episode, so it's hard to.
Probably Walter Goggin, but I didn't mind the female character. I actually liked that she wasn't annoying or bitchy or stuff like that. She was, pretty good.
I think I told you this, or whether it was in a video, that's what I thought was refreshing about this character, that a lot of shows will try and typecast. If it's a female lead, they try and make her the strong, independent woman, but she has to be bitchy. Like it just seems to be the thing. Like I know that's how the games work, but in The Last of Us, Ellie, she's bitchy. And you're like I don't like that. I actually think it's kind of sexist to assume to be a strong female, you must be bitchy. Why can't you be a strong female and be friendly? Like it can happen. And that's what I like about this character. Whether it's believable that her being naive, she could actually survive in this post-apocalyptic world. But, she's just nice and refreshing. I think it's cool. I think it's a nice change because, we always get that, that bitchy character.
Captain Marvel comes to mind.
Yeah. It's like, it doesn't need to be that way. That doesn't represent females very well. I don't think it's nice. I don't think it's fair. So it's nice to see this. And very likable character. But I'm dying to find out more about Fallout. Like I'm actually want to play the games, which is odd. I for someone that doesn't, I like games, but I kind of stick to my lane. And if I miss the train when a game first came out, I don't bother going back. But if I'm starting to get on the hype train for Fallout.
Well, it's on the PlayStation.
Yeah, I think Fallout 4 or something. I downloaded it the other day. I just haven't started. I need to finish Spider-Man. I've been saying that for a long time. So. There's a lot of things there. You've been playing your PlayStation much?
Yes.
Yeah, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Helldivers 2.
Yeah, what do you think about that?
I think you should play it as well.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that, but you know how I feel about online multiplayers. They're not really my thing. But I have seen people playing it. It looks like it could be fun.
It is.
So you tell me, what's it about?
It's basically like Star Troopers. Have you seen that movie?
No, but I kind of know the premise,
Basically, Star Troopers is you're fighting alien bugs and you're defending humanity. So this game is kind of taking that tropes. You're defending the motherland. You're fighting for human cause, and then you're fighting bugs and basically Terminator robots.
Okay, yeah, I saw a couple of I guess trailers or things for it, and it was kind of funny. Like reminded me of the Fallout show where they're like trying to sell come fight for for humanity and be on the team, and
Yeah.
and that was kind of funny. So it seems like it's got a good sense of humor. I don't know if I've missed the train though. Are people still playing it? Is it popular? Okay. Maybe after paid game, or it was free to download Helldivers?
You have to buy it.
Oh yeah, you buy it. Okay. Interesting. What else? Any other topics you want to talk about, or are we starting to wrap this up?
Any final thoughts about anything?
Final thoughts. What are some things? So I've seen lots of movies. There's a few coming out. I got a long list of horror movies I need to start watching. So I want to watch Baghead.
Okay.
I want to watch Immaculate, which I haven't seen yet. So yeah, horror films. I don't mind watching. They're kind of easy watches, and they're never good. So it's like, but they're easy to watch. But yeah, I just really want Joker to hurry up and come out. Like I'm just so hyped for what this movie can be about. Looking forward to finishing off Fallout. Sorry, looking forward to watching Fall Guy a second time, whether I go to the movies or whether it comes to streaming soon. But yeah, there's lots of things out there, and it amazes me when every day, like, I look on a streaming service and a new film comes out. There's something like I saw today that there's this Anne Hathaway film that's on Amazon Prime Original. So I'm going to give that a watch tonight. Just like this is movies galore coming out at the moment, and there's a lot of like original content to streaming. Like I reckon Amazon's killing it at the moment for a streaming service I've neglected. It is all I'm going to at the moment. It's got the shows I want to watch, and it's had some good movies come out. So yeah, I'm more for Team Amazon at the moment.
Actually, that brings up a good final topic, and then we'll leave. Do we use streaming services because of what's on it, or because we're loyal to the service?
I think people follow the show. They couldn't care less about the service. But there's obviously people out there that, you know, either smartly choose to just only have one or two, or financially can only afford one or two, and then obviously they watch what they have to choose from. But I think most people go out there and sign up to them all, or password share, or do whatever, and you know, there's a lot of money wasted on streaming. You know, because people are, you know, joined to 5 services but only really watch one. Or like, I know you try and not neglect any, so you swap, share the love. So you share the love. But in saying that, like, is that the smartest way to, like, does that cost you more money in the long run, trying to share the love? Or should you go, I'm going to share the love to Netflix this month and can Amazon, and then next month I'm going to cancel Netflix and then Amazon? And yeah, it's like, but then the catch to that is, if everyone stops paying for all the services and just sticks to one and jumps from month to month, then we get less content. You know, if everyone's on the Netflix hype train and no one's watching, you know, Apple TV, does Apple TV go, yeah, we better cut it, no more shows, like we can't afford this? So I don't know, it's a tricky one. We want content, but I don't want to pay for everything. I can't pay for every streaming service. What's your thought on it?
My thoughts is that I'm loyal to the show over the service. I definitely think if there's a show that I want to watch and I don't have the service, unfortunately I'm going to have to go without. But that's part of life, like everything. So,
well, I'd say to that, that probably means to me that you are loyal to the service, because if the show came out and I'm like, well, this is on Stan, and you're like, oh, I really want to see it, oh, but I'm not willing to pay for Stan, then that would mean to me that you are loyal to the services you have. Where if you were desperate about the show, you would go, well, I'm going to pay for Stan. I need it. I have to see this show. I'm going to pay for Stan. So I reckon you're the opposite of what you think. I think you are loyal to the service because you stick to the ones you paid for and you will look for content on it, which I think is a good way to be, because you're saving money instead of going, let's just have them all. You're going, well, I'm never going to see everything that's on Netflix. So if I only have Netflix, I'll find content. No one's seen all of Netflix. Not possible. So there's always something.
Oh, we got a comment.
Hey, Mike's Review and Analysis. How you going? Got any questions for us? We're about to wrap up, but we'll stay on for a bit longer if you got something for us. Yeah. So on that, I think you kind of stick to like that's a smart way to be like really like committing to a service or the ones you have and going, I'm going to find stuff to watch. I don't need to hop, skip, and jump. If I miss out on one, so be it. I can think of lots of shows that are on streaming services that I don't have, and I'm okay with it. I haven't even seen all the ones on the streaming service I have. So like, there's no FOMO here. But yeah, it seems like Amazon's the go for at the moment. Like all the things I want to watch come out on Amazon. So Did you guys see Knuckles though? We did talk about that. Yes. What do you got to say, Jacob? I haven't seen it.
It's actually not about Knuckles. It seems to be it's going to be about the character named Wade, and I actually get annoyed when it's named about like Knuckles, for example, and it should be named. It shouldn't be about Wade, but unfortunately, Knuckles is okay. I don't see anyone watching it that isn't a fan of Sonic the Hedgehog, like New Universe. I don't think Luke's gonna watch it.
Oh, I'm not against it. I just have no investment to the Sonic universe, so it's why would I pick this show? And what's it on? Is it on Prime or
Paramount Plus?
Paramount. Well, yes, I don't have Paramount Plus, so there's no way I'm gonna watch that.
What's your thoughts about it?
Okay, while we wait to see if he responds. So, what's your favorite streaming service at the moment?
Mine, I think you know the answer, Apple TV Plus.
You do like Apple TV Plus. They have some good stuff coming out. There's so many shows on there that I want to watch. I need to find time for. Like, have you finished? Well, no, Sugar's still coming out, isn't it?
Yeah, episode 6 comes out today, and it has 8 episodes.
Yeah, like I want. You still liking Sugar?
Sugar, yeah.
Yeah, so I want to see Sugar. There's one on there. I wish I can think of the name of it. It's like high society lady that like sneaks into like a fancy. I gotta find it. Where's my phone? It's Ricky Martin's in it, so it looks interesting. Yeah, so much stuff on Apple TV. Like, okay, so it says. I actually really enjoyed Knuckles, but it has a lot of problems. The second half was weaker than the first, unfortunately, as well. So how many episodes have you seen of Jackie?
2 out of 4.
Okay, so you got a bit to go.
2 out of 6, sorry.
Yeah, so what, we got Sugar on there. Palm Royal. If you can see that. Wish I could think. Is it Tina Fey? No, she's not Tina Fey. She's like friends with Tina Fey. Kristen Wiig, that's the name of it. So quite a few things, and we got Ricky Martin. So I've heard good things about that. Apple TV. There's some cool stuff coming out.
Very much looking forward to Dark Matter when that comes out.
Yes, we looked into that. That looks cool. I haven't seen Masters of the Air yet.
You need to watch that show.
I mean, so there's like so much stuff on Apple. Like it's starting to get a catalog of things. Like I haven't watched Monarch. Like it's building up. Like I really need to get. I never saw C. There's a lot of Silo. I haven't even finished season 1 of Severance yet. So Apple TV, I need to get onto the Apple TV train and start watching some of these things. Okay, see you later, Mike. Thank you for stopping in.
Thank you.
So there's a lot of cool stuff on Apple TV. So you're going with Apple TV.
What's yours?
I'm going to Prime. I've been watching a lot of Prime stuff. I said I like Roadhouse. I'm going to see this new movie tonight. I don't know what it's called.
It's funny. From Prime, you were thinking about, well, you wouldn't get rid of it, but Prime was down here. It was down in the dumps. It was garbage, and now it's on top.
Yeah, you're right. I said for a long time, if there was a streaming service that I didn't need, it was Prime. But I said I would still keep it because I pay for Prime membership to be able to buy stuff on Amazon. So it was kind of a freebie. Like it's something I'm not really paying for. It just comes with another service that I like. And I said, if I had to, I'd get rid of it. And, it's starting to come good.
And The Boys is coming out soon.
Yeah, we've got The Boys coming in. I probably should get into Invincible and watch some more of that. I haven't watched all of spin-off The Boys. What's it called?
Gen V.
I haven't watched that. See, like there's lots of things in there. I think I need to... I need to find more time in the day to find what. I need to stop watching so many movies.
You're committing to movies, so
No.
when we do our top 5, you and the other 2 Zachs are the movie person.
Yeah, maybe next year I'll commit to watching TV shows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as always, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the live stream, and see you next time. As always, let the force be with you and have a good one. Bye-bye.